Hey, how's it going, everyone? Just back again with another lesson. So I just did this based on the request of a end times teacher who asked for my breakdown on Revelation 12. And so I've done this already, maybe not like as detailed, as I'll go through this and I'll read the whole chapter. But, the video that I've done on January 6th, 2020, I'll link that video below. This is... I was given the sequence of the end times on January 1st, 2020, and then, I produced the videos, obviously all of them after that. And so this is the one where I go through the entire Bible, the entire Revelation, and put them in sequence, and so that's the trick with Revelation 12. The quote trick is to put them in the right order, because they're like tiles, and you got to put them in the right order, and then know that chapter 7, 14, and 21 are summary chapters. And so it's like an intermission. You have 6 chapters and you have a summary, then you have another 6 and then a summary, and then another 6 and then a summary. And so that's the structure of Revelation. And so I'll put the link to this longer video. It's almost an hour and a half, so that has Revelation 12 in it as well, but not as much detail as I guess what I'll try and do now. And then since I'm here, I'll put the numerology as well, which is to me the most fascinating thing at this point. It's like an icing on the cake, I would say, a cherry on top. Everything is amazing about the Bible, especially the fact that it's coming true, most importantly, right before our eyes. But, I'll put the numerology on this lesson as well for Revelation 12. But, if people have the time, I would highly recommend people watch that video that I link below. So nothing that I teach is different than that, except the mark of the beast moving from this to this, just based on what I see, and then the numerology, and then just it makes sense, like that. It has to be the mark of the beast will never be that. That's the mark of a beast for sure, if that were to ever happen, and some people have already taken it, but it's not mark of the beast, which has to go out worldwide. And then it has to be of a medical nature, for sure, based on many things. But, Job 9:24 is a good one as well. That explains that, because it's going to be deemed virtuous. This will never be like, oh, you're more virtuous if you do this, or less virtuous, or whatever. It wouldn't make sense. There'll be no narrative where somebody would be like, oh, you're such a bad person, you don't have anything in there, or whatever. That doesn't make sense ever. And so a video that I posted recently shows that some of the Amazon stores, you can actually pay with your palm. Like you can get your palm scanned, loaded on to, I haven't done this obviously, but I think like through Amazon, get your palm scanned, and then maybe like they take a picture of it, and then you can then get that associated with your credit card. So you can go to any of the Amazon stores and just literally put your hand, over a reader, and then you can pay, so you don't touch anything. So why would that not be good enough? Let's just say they started saying, oh, no, you need it in there. Why would they say that? When anybody would be like, well, no, I don't want that, because it seems like the mark of the beast, and I don't want anything in my skin. Why can't I just use my palm so I don't touch anything? Like, no one will like refuse that. Like, what kind of store would be like, no, that's not good enough, or whatever? No, we really want you to like put your hand like that and scan something into. No, that doesn't make sense. And so that's stupid. And so that's really the only thing that I've quote updated from that video, updated Revelation. And so the elect won't be deceived, and so that's what we're going to talk about here in Revelation 12. So God has to reveal those things to his elect, whoever those people are. And one characteristic of them, I'll do a lesson on them soon, is they're not deceived, because we're going to read how they're not deceived here. And fundamentally, God nourishes them, and so if you're of the elect, you're not getting nourishment from me, or from Tahar, or from End Times Teacher, or from Ken Hovind, or whatever. You're getting nourishment from God. So that's the bold claim that I make. I'm not learning this stuff from myself. It's like I didn't like wake up January 1st and be like, oh, you know what, like I figured it all out, or I was like, I had an epiphany. No, I would never have been able to think of that on my own at all. I wouldn't even know like how to begin to piece all those things together. And the very amazing truth that Acts 1, 10, and 11 is talking about Revelation 11. I would never have guessed that, on my own. And so, but I was told that, and so I want people to know that, just know that the elect will not be deceived if it were so possible. And so God has to be undoing the deceptions for people, and hopefully this channel helps. But I think they're so obvious at this point, who the deceivers are, because they're all idiots. But, this is an amazing chapter, to explain. It goes through a lot of history, and then brings us to the modern day in a very relatively brief chapter. This is an amazing thing about the Bible, how potent it is and how succinct it is to describe even thousands of years, in a single chapter. That's what Revelation 12 does. It's amazing. But so I'll reference that link below if you want how it sort of fits in, and then all that kind of stuff. But we'll kind of drill deeper here. Revelation 12. I'll read it in the King James. So the title in the ESV is like the woman and the dragon. So the woman, I'll explain, is the elect, and the dragon is the dragon, the beast system. And so there's a battle going on. And so I know that a lot of people who come by here, you're a part of the dragon, even if you're a truther. I know that because the Bible offends you, certain parts of it. And so just save your time, I guess, if you want. If you don't want me to just delete your comments or have to write the same thing over and over again, okay? I'm not going back and forth with people about Masons and all that kind of stuff. We know that God is behind it, and we're told that again here, but we don't need any more evidence of that, because we know from Job that the deceived and the deceiver are his. So God controls everything, okay? He controls the amount of deception that's on this earth to attempt to deceive the elect, but they're not going to be deceived, and we'll be told how they're not deceived here in Revelation 12. So just save your typing, okay? Certain people even ask and receive. I'm not trying to make funny, but don't come here and say, oh, this is evil, this is abomination, how can they do this? We know who they is, okay? I do, okay? God is behind this. So if you don't want to believe that or whatever, just go away, or just save your comments, and then, until my clock expires or whatever, and then, just whatever. Don't say stuff like that. It's a waste of time. I have to constantly write to people, they is God. I should just have an automated message. They equals God. They equals God. So you dummy, stop writing stupid nonsense on my comment board and waste time. Okay? So this channel is only going to make sense to a certain group of people, and then the rest of you, I don't care at all, and so I'm not arguing with you or anything like that. So if you haven't figured that out, then go push that somewhere else. Maybe you're right. Just go push that somewhere else. That they is whoever. I know who it is, okay? And then we're told that here as well. So just know that. But verse 1. And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. And so right away we're starting to get clues as to who this is. So a crown upon her head, a crown of 12 stars. 12 times 12, and 12 usually represents the elect. And so and God's elect are going to be crowned. And so this is right away we get some clues that this woman is the elect, or we have a good sense of hey, what could this be? And we're going to get a sense more clearly who this is, obviously, in this whole chapter. But just know that. And she, being with child, cried, travailing in birth and pain to be delivered. So, and verse 3, and there appeared another wonder in heaven. We're going to find out who that child is. And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon having 7 heads and 10 horns and 7 crowns upon his head. So now we have the elect giving birth to a child, and then we now have in verse 3, which is not a coincidence, 12 times 3 is 36, 666. And so now we have evil. Okay, so here's the scene, that's playing out. We have God's elect giving birth to a child. We'll find out is a boy, is a man, and is a male. And then we have this evil structure. Okay, so that's the scene that's happening. And this is obviously for people who know about this chapter, that's, in history, when Christ was born and then, attacked by this beast in verse 3. Verse 4, and his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven and did cast them to earth. And the dragon stood before the woman, which was ready to be delivered to devour her child as soon as it was born. So when Christ was born, this beast, or a great red dragon, which is the same language that's used in Revelation 13. If you read that, it's the same beast, but a different structure. That's in the end times. If you read Revelation 13, the mark of the beast, and this is historical, so the power structures that were on earth are described, God's describing them this way, but their objectives are the same. Whenever you see anything from God, go kill it. That's the whole point. Just know that. And so that's the same in Revelation 13. That's the same in Revelation 11 when the two witnesses are here. Oh, you're from God? Go kill them. That's the whole point. And so just know that that's why we're living in hell. Anything that's true, actually true, gets attacked. That's the whole point. And so just know that if it wasn't obvious already. So this dragon is like waiting, because it knows, Christ is on the scene now. And verse 5, and she brought forth a man-child who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron, and her child was caught up to God and to his throne. So we know right away that that's Christ. And so, and her child was caught up to God and to his throne. So after Christ sacrificed himself, he went back to God, to the right hand of the Father. And so that's what it says here. And then if you read other parts of Revelation, when Christ is now, after he's done that work, then he can start loosing the seals and revealing things to his elect. And so the end times officially began when Christ was crucified, and taken away. And so just know that he's on his throne, and then now he's going to start, based on what he did on the cross, he can start administering the seals, and then loosing information and then unlocking the book of Revelation, and just know that. And we're seeing it play out. And so there's other chapters. And again, I would watch that video that I linked below where I go into those chapters. And there's like literally a religious ceremony happening in the spirit realm after Christ has overcome the grave, and sacrificed himself, that now he's given authority to unlock the book of Revelation and enact all of its judgments, which is what they are. So just know that. So that's what verse 5 is talking about. So you can see already, this is telling us the setup, of the scene, and then it's taking us through a great deal of history in just a few verses. Verse 6, and the woman, again, this is the elect, fled into the wilderness, where she had a place prepared of God that they should feed her there 1,260 days. So if you will read the book of Daniel, you'll understand that the last week represents 7 years of, like the end times, the quote unquote end times. And so there's two major ends of the end times, and we'll read that in Matthew 24. And so just know that. That's very, very important to know, because there's two groups of people that are going to be, on God's right-hand side. There's the elect, which don't die, and then there's a group that do die. And then we're told that in this chapter as well. And so that's what that 7-year period is for, to sift them out, and so just know that. And so verse 6, and the woman fled into the wilderness. This is verse 12, 6. So 12 is 6, 6, 6, 6, 6. This is the time that we're living now. This woman fled into the wilderness, where she had a place prepared for God. The wilderness fundamentally represents, if people would say you're like bewildered or whatever, it means you're confused, right? So the elect are scattered in all corners of the earth. The Bible says this everywhere. And so this is a judgment for the end times. And so where she has a place prepared of God. So that's a judgment. So wherever the elect are, the amount of tribulation that they're in, they don't go through great tribulation, but the amount of tribulation that they're in is a judgment prepared of God. Just know that. So that they should feed her there 1,260 days. Well, what does this mean? If you're being fed, you're being nourished with information from God. And so why would they need to be fed? Well, we're going to explain. Because this dragon, who's an idiot, the beast, is going to try and deceive them. Okay, so they need nourishment, but guess who? From God directly. Okay, not from your 501c3 pastor or your demonic Hebrew Israelite apostle or whatever. Okay, so this is why the elect, wherever they are, they're going to say things along the lines that I say, in the sense that we don't go quote other people and say, oh, this person told me this. No, it's God said this. And then they can tell you what day, and then they're not going to charge you for it. It's not funny, but like, it's not for sale. Okay, so just know that. Those are some clues that should help us understand who at least to take seriously, who are teaching the Bible. And so you can't sell this nourishment, okay? It's not for sale. But anyway, that they should feed her there 1,260 days. So 7 years can be divided into 2 3.5 year segments, the first being 1260 and then the back half being 1260. This is the first half that is going to be cut short for the elect's sake. And so no one knows when the end of this 1260-day period is until the elect are taken away. And so just know that. And so then you can backtrack 1260 days, and that's when this began, and so that's the time of deception, and then we're going to read in this thing, that's when the earth is being flooded with more and more lies through YouTube, through everywhere, like we just see more and more propaganda. But just know it's for a very limited amount of time. You cannot, no one can argue with this, that there's never been more lies than now in this quote unquote YouTube age. There's no way. Are you kidding me? But then there's also been a lot of truth, fair enough. But you cannot argue with the fact that there's been a disproportionate amount of propaganda being fed in the last 3 or 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, like in this generation, in this time period. And that's Bible prophecy. Just know that we're gonna actually read what exactly that is. It's literally this dragon trying to flood the earth with lies to try and deceive God's elect. But they're not going to be deceived because they're going to be fed there, and nourished wherever they are on earth by God to undo that. So just know that. So that's the first half. That's the tribulation period. Okay. The second half of that 7 years is the great tribulation period. And the elect are not on the earth for that. Just know that. And so that's why we're going to read in this chapter as well that there's a group that have to give up their life. The elect do not die. So if you're a person out there who believes or wants to be in that group, I'm not saying to go and be callous or whatever, but you can't die. You won't die. You won't get in a car accident. You won't die of this or anything, of bacteria, disease, a virus. You will not die of cancer or anything like that. And so don't go and be reckless, my recommendation, but take comfort in that, and that's why I certainly don't fear death. First of all, we're in death right now. The Bible describes us as dead here in a body. And so we're dead already, and so we're alive to Christ, and then ultimately in God's presence for sure. But we're already dead, a lot of us, and it's not funny, but like there's nothing else to do but laugh at this point, how ridiculous it is and how powerful this dragon is, which we're going to read about more in this chapter. So that's what it means. So the wilderness is also more specifically America, because America is Babylon, which is like mystery Babylon, which is like a word that comes from confusing the languages. And so it's a place of confusion. And then America is a ringleader for the confusion worldwide. So it's spread quickly because of the internet. And everything, and all that kind of stuff. But God's elect are concentrated in America, but they're everywhere on earth. And then there's going to be deceptions wherever they are in their wilderness that God prepared for them, which is a judgment. So just know that. And then part of the judgment was them being scattered as well. Verse 7, and then there was a war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels. So 1 to 6 is done. That's the sequence. Okay. Then now it zooms in on the dragon, and then what its specific objectives are. And so that's what is confusing also about Revelation, is that the chapters are all jumbled, but then even within the chapter, it's like God's jumping around. But again, it's part of the quote unquote deception. Like a lot of people are going to go and teach this, the book, and have throughout human history, except the elect, because they have no guile in their mouth. They're going to have no idea what's going on. They'll just start making up stuff. They'll think this is like a real battle where like Michael's like fighting other spirits and all that kind of stuff. So no, that's ridiculous. No one's fighting in the spirit world and winning and then, oh, you guys lose, they kick you down. Just know that this is language that is meant to deceive people, in like the Christian church, or people who will use the Bible and just read this and be like, it's ridiculous. So the Bible has to be part of the deception, because again, God is behind the deception. So when it says hand in Revelation 13, people say, oh no, it's there. But then you have to look at that word, dexios, and it means arm and strong side. And so in a sense, the Bible is part of the deception, and so just know that, and so it's the same thing here. We have no biblical support anywhere else that spirits are fighting, and then the losing spirits came down here. We have all the other verses that tell us that God sends the deceptions, and then he's in charge of the amount of the deception too. He doesn't make it overwhelming to where you can't undo them because they're so crafty or whatever. No, And so just know that. So Michael and his angels fought against the dragon fought against his angels, is for the Christian church to then go and talk about, oh, there's like a big battle going on and like we're fighting. No, there's no battle. All of this stuff has been predetermined. Okay, we're living in a movie. We know that now. And then God is behind the deception as well, left side and right hand side. And so just know that, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. God gives the earth into the hand of the wicked. He made the earth and he made the hand that it's receiving it, and he made it the amount of wickedness that he wants. And so we know that now. So I'm not going back and forth with you people. So just, save your time typing. We know that now. This verse is not literal is what I'm trying to say. Revelation 12:7. And verse 8, and prevailed not, neither was their place found in heaven anymore in heaven. So it's not like they had a battle. Okay, there's no more room for you. You got to go. No, this is just letting us know that the evil spirits now are no longer allowed in the heavens. They're in a body and they have a job to do. And we're going to read exactly what their job is. And we see it playing out right now. So this is why I know that we're in those days, because we see it in real life. Most importantly, verse 9, and the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. And so this is why God's right-hand side always tries to, or God's left-hand side always tries to mirror God's right-hand side. So Satan has his own quote-unquote angels, but they're deceiving spirits, and so just know that. And so all you people that are not Christian, but come by here and pretend like you're Christian, I know what's going on, okay? So just know, like, I'm not unaware, okay? And his angels, there's a lot of them, okay? It's a majority of this earth, and I'll explain that in this chapter as well, how I know that. And so the devil, Satan, whose job, which we read right here, is to deceive the whole world. This is in verse 9. If you rotate that, you get a 6, right? And then it's verse 12, chapter 12, so it's 666. God's entire left-hand side is the old serpent called the devil and Satan, and he's got all of his angels with him, and there's like billions of them. Just know that. A majority of this earth is satanic. Majority of the people that come by my channel are satanic. Okay, and I just want people to know I know that, because I know that the Bible is bad news for you. The Bible is only good news for a small group of people. Just know that. But we're seeing here that these spirits are no longer only spirits. They're cast into the earth. So they're in a body now, okay? And then they have a job to do, which is what? Deceive the whole world. And so this is why it's called the old serpent too as well. It's like all these like people who are like older, they're all sellouts. Like they didn't like care about anything righteous or whatever. All these like old people running around, a majority of them, they're the ones who created this system and allowed it to exist. So I feel like there's like language that supports that here. But fundamentally, this devil and Satan, they've been here to set the stage. And so this whole time leading up to the times that we live in now, where the deceptions are being undone, their job was to deceive the whole world. Ball earth, all this like Christianity nonsense, all the religions of the world, education system, political system, everything. They're in place, the money system, of course. Their job was to deceive the whole world. And then one of the biggest ones was the ball earth. And then also Christianity, teaching that hell is a spiritual dimension, which is not true. And so just know that we're in hell here, because this is where the devil and Satan are, and they're active and powerful, and they're trying to deceive the entire world. And so how could these verses not be talking about now? I don't know how to say this. No, it's not funny, but like, how? Are you kidding me? There's a new deception that's coming out every day that's stupid. Oh, new study finds. It's like comical at this point. Verse 10, and I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, now is come salvation and strength and the kingdom of our God. So during this time of deception, there's also going to be a time of salvation. And so the sequence will always hold, the sequence of the end times that I've been teaching ever since January 1st, 2020 will never change. It's always going to talk about the elect being taken out of a deceptive time or tribulation. And we see that here again. And so that's it. And the power of his Christ. So there's a translation of kingdoms happening when Christ returns and takes away his elect. Everybody knows the power structures are about to change. There's a new government, so to speak. And so just know that. Everybody knows that. There's no, oh, the UFOs will just come and then we won't see them anymore kind of thing. They're gone now. No, just know that this verse is telling us that now has come salvation. And what comes with salvation? Strength in the kingdom of our God and the power of his Christ. Just know that. And for the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accused them before our God day and night. And so just know that the devil is indeed cast down to deceive the whole world, but there's a balance, and then that comes with salvation. And so just know that. And then verse 11, and we got to understand who this they is. And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony, and they loved not their lives unto death. So this is talking about the mixed multitude. So the sequence will always hold. The elect are taken away. You're going to have a 1,260-day period of great tribulation, where a group of people are going to have to die for their faith. And like it says here, for their testimony. And then they're given white robes as well. And so they're part of God's right-hand side, but they're going to die. They're physically going to die. The elect do not die. They're taken away, quote unquote, alive. And so just know that. And then that's always the sequence. And verse 12 goes into more detail about that. Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. This verse to me sometimes is like, it's not funny, but like there's certain aspects of like the God is like kind of funny and like sarcastic. He's like, oh, like, the heavens or whatever, you guys should be happy now because those spirits are gone. They're in bodies. And so you guys can rejoice. But then woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. And then the reason it talks about a short time here, to me, talks about the end times being cut short for the elect's sake. And so if you read Matthew 24, 13 and 14, but the one who endures till the end will be saved. And this gospel of the kingdom will be proclaimed throughout the whole world as a testimony to all nations, and then the end will come. And so this is the time that this is this short time. Okay, so there's technically two sort of end times, like we read here in Matthew 24. But the one who endures till the end will be saved. That's God's elect. They're taken away. And this gospel of the kingdom will be proclaimed throughout the whole world as a testimony to all nations, and then the end will come. Okay, so then there's going to be a time after the elect are taken away where, like I said in many of my other lessons, the two witnesses are brought here, and then there's going to be these so-called flying scrolls, these UFOs that are going to have to preach the gospel. The elect don't need the gospel preached to them because God tells them directly what it is. And so they don't need that. And so they're taken away. And I asked to be in that group. And so, but this next group, the mixed multitude, they're going to have the gospel preached to them because they need it or whatever. And so that is going to happen in Revelation 14:6 based on because of UFOs. And so just know that. This is the only way the gospel can go out to people of all different languages. How is any pastor or anybody going to go preach the gospel to people who speak every single, like thousands of different languages on earth? How is that possible? When is that ever going to happen? If it was done by man, okay? We're told who it is. So all these people, we know, end times teacher, all these actors who come say, oh no, we have to go spread the message, D-flat, and all these retards that come by my channel, I know that they're Satanists, okay? They're just stupid. How is that possible? Just from a practical perspective, okay? Anything that God does, these people on God's left-hand side, they try and take credit for it. No, there's not two witnesses, it's two nations or all these idiots. No, the Bible, you don't know, God's not going to spread the gospel like with his angels. No, that's not what the Bible says, even though it does. And I'm about to read it. No, we have to go and spread the gospel. Okay, so who's going to learn all the different languages that are in India and Africa and all that kind of stuff? Like, I mean, who? We have people that come by my channel who barely know how to like read and write in English. And so like, how are they going to go and, master all these other tongues? And so trust what the Bible says, okay? Not these retards. Revelation 14:6, and I saw another angel flying in the midst of heaven in the sky, having the everlasting gospel. This is the real gospel, the one that actually has power to preach unto them that dwell on the earth and to every nation, kindred, tongue, and people. So we're talking about a different level of communication, okay? It's soul to soul, okay? These UFOs are not going to be on a loudspeaker, okay? speak Afrikaans. Okay, you speak Hindi. Okay, you speak French, and then go to, are you kidding me? It's God's right-hand side knows what's going on, okay? And a majority of people that come by my channel are not on God's right-hand side, okay? So hopefully that's obvious. I know that. So just know that, you know, and then that's what's going on here. That this short time is 1,260 days, where the entire left-hand side, we're going to see what they're going to be all about, and we're going to read that here. And so I highly recommend not hanging around too long in that time. The longest I will ever be in that 1,260 days is 1 day. That's it. Christ returns, and let's say I'm here in the body. I see that. I'm not taken away. Count me in for 1 more day at the most. Bye, because I know what's about to happen, and we're going to read that in this chapter as well. And so you'd have to be a complete bird brain to hang around there too long. You'd have to be stupid. Says here, verse 12, I just read that one actually. So just know, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. Okay. So after the elect are taken away, everybody on God's left-hand side are going to know what's going on. 1,260 days. You can set your watch to it. They're all going to be burned after they take the mark of the beast, which is that's what it means as well. They have but a short time. It's going to take 1,260 days for the rest of the earth to get the mark of the beast. And so if you read Revelation 16, the first plague of the 2 witnesses are sores on people who've already taken the mark of the beast. So when Christ returns and brings the actual 2 witnesses here, then some of the earth should already has to have the mark of the beast. And we see that. That's why this is the mark of the beast. And then they're going to get sores. And then that's going to be, I suspect, the narrative for, oh, whoa, something's going on here. And then it's going to go out light speed. This, just faster. Like you cannot even imagine. And then people who are not down with it, we're going to read what's going to happen to them. So tread carefully for those people. You know, if the Bible comes true in our lifetime, which I highly believe that it will, and very, very soon, you know, tread carefully. Verse 13, and when the dragon saw that he was cast into the earth, he persecuted the woman which brought forth the man-child. So he's persecuting the elect. Okay? And their job, this dragon's job, is to deceive them. The whole world, you know, but in particular the elect. And to the woman were given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness, into her place where she is nourished for a time, times, and half a time from the face of the serpent. And so there's going to be a time, times, and half a time, which again represents his 1,260 days. And if you read Revelation 13, it explicitly writes 42 months. So God's using that language to let us know it's an actual 7-year period. Like it's not like symbolic of like 70 years or 700 years or anything like that. And so here it's told a time, times, and half a time from the face of the serpent. And so, but she's going to be nourished. Okay. So by God, you know, during this time of deception where this dragon is out to persecute the elect, which is the woman. And so just know that. And the serpent cast out his mouth cast out of his mouth water as a flood after the woman. So the whole objective of this serpent, and I don't know how it could not be the age that we live in now. Water represents, like, when Christ talks about living water, it's like information, knowledge, you know, and wisdom from God. And then this serpent's also going to have this water, but it's going to be with its ideas and philosophies and all that kind of stuff, which is headquartered here in America, which is the wilderness. And so, and it's spread these philosophies throughout the entire earth. And we read that in Revelation 17 and 18. That's what America's job is. It's the headquarters of the wilderness, so to speak, you know, for the confused, the bewildered, or whatever. And so this serpent has its own set of knowledge. And it's trying to flood the entire earth with that. And then just know that, you know, and then target the elect, which are like the saints, you know, and then God's chosen. And so just know that. And that he might cause her to be carried away of the flood. So it's a serpent's job to flood the earth with lies to essentially drown God's elect. Think of it that way, you know, like metaphorically and literally, you know, that kind of thing. And so, but just know, for people out there who believe that they might be in that, they can't die, you know, because they will not experience death, the elect. They're taken away, you know, they're quote unquote raptured. And so just know that. That's an elite group. Verse 16, here's an amazing thing. Okay, this is again part of the numerology. So verse 16, chapter 12, 12, 6, 6, 1, 6. So 666 or 616. And the earth helped the woman, and the earth opened her mouth and swallowed up the flood, which the dragon cast out of his mouth. So this is symbolic and literal at the same time. But the earth opened her mouth. So the earth is literally speaking to me and us, telling us that it's flat, and then telling us that it's hell. Those are two big clues, that unlock a lot of the Bible. And you need to know those things to understand the Bible, to understand the power of this dragon. How many people on this earth are ball earthers and or believe that hell, don't define it, or is some spirit realm? That's a majority of the earth. Even Christians, people that come by here, I tell them that they're in hell, and it's like bad news for them. They're like, no, wait a minute, no, not really, or it's not that bad, 15, make 10-year plan, 15-year plan, 20-year plan, no big deal, that kind of stuff. Those are people on God's left-hand side, fundamentally, who continue to think like that, because that's part of this flood, of lies, and all that kind of stuff. And just know that that entire group is part of God's left-hand side. Okay, I know that. And so that's the whole point. But the reciprocal of that is that people like me who know those two things, not even all the other truths that we know, and all that kind of stuff, that drowns out, or it really gives no power to the lies. Because I don't take anybody seriously unless they know that and then teach that. And then it's good news for them to find that out, that the earth is flat and then this is hell. It's because the gospel is supposed to be good news, right? God comes in the volume of the book. The Hebrews know that the hell is not a spirit realm, but they won't explicitly teach that the earth is hell. They'll say it's a grave, a mental condition. They'll dance around it. That's their job because they're part of this flood, of lies. So even them, they're gatekeeping the truth. So that means that pretty much everybody on this earth is part of the deception, And so the people that know now that the earth is flat and stationary, God nourished us to know that. And then God is nourishing us to know that we're in hell. And then the logical thing that anybody would do, knowing those two things, and then all the other things that are going on, we cry out to be saved from hell, because that's the only form of salvation that the Bible talks about, is being saved from hell. So you have to be in hell first, and then, watch my video where I read every verse that references hell. And so that's what I believe is being talked about here. I would accept other people's interpretations of that because it would make sense. You can say it in a lot of different ways, how the deceptions are being undone. Because you could also literally think of the earth has opened her mouth as the entire earth is now speaking openly about the evil, on YouTube and protests and all that kind of stuff. It's like water cooler discussion, that's literally the entire earth just saying how stupid this dragon is. So any of those type of interpretations, I'm fine with, it's I wouldn't get too sticky on this particular verse, but that's the way I understand it and the way that I've experienced this flood being swallowed. Who can deceive me now? And I'm not saying this to be arrogant. I want people to have this mindset too. If the Bible's true, and then you go up to anybody on this earth and say, tell me what you believe the shape of the earth is, and then let's just say they happen to be flat earther, and then tell me what you understand about hell, you'll dismiss 99.9999999999999% of the earth. You're going to have nobody left to talk to, like me. And so just be comfortable with where you are, and then not too comfortable, of course, but be comfortable with where you are theologically, because those two truths are obvious. If the Bible's true, that the earth is flat and stationary, and that this physical earth, the land that we're standing on, is hell. And so just know that, if you're the only one that rejoices when you find out those two things, then that's fine. That means that you're an elite group, and that's good. And then that I would assume that you're being primed for salvation, to be rescued, because that's only good news for a very, very small group of people on this earth. And then I'm not just talking about people who will say, yeah, that's what the Bible says. I'm talking about people who the Bible teaches that and then they react to it. It's not the Bible teaches that and you're like, okay, great, or whatever. It's well, then what would a normal person do? And so Just know that. And so I want people to understand, okay, if the Bible is true, things are going to start heating up. And we read that right here. And as I end off in verse 17, and the dragon was wroth with the woman, furious with the woman, and went to make war with the remnant of her seed. Why isn't the dragon making war with the woman herself? Because she's taken away. Okay. That's why it says here, and went to make war with the remnant of her seed. Her seed is like seeds that have been planted by the elect, where they are, based on this nourishment they're getting from God. And so just know that. And so once the elect are taken away, this is why I'm not hanging around if I were to see that and not be taken away. Why? So, because you're going to have this dragon who's an idiot and all of his angels who are retards, and then people that come by here as well, they're going to be angry because they're going to know now that, first of all, God exists, and then they know what's coming 1,260 days later. It's everybody's going to get the mark of the beast, and then they're going to be burned. Body and soul are going to be destroyed. And so they know what's up. You know, God's left-hand side know God exists because they know to not talk about God, okay? It's like hopefully people have figured it out. If you're around people who only talk about certain things, and then why all these truthers can only talk about certain topics, like End Times Teacher, who recommended I make this video, that's why that's the case, you know, because they're actors. And so they don't want God to show up with two witnesses, because then like all the Hebrews will be like, what was that all about? Well, obviously we're not the two witnesses. And then the Christian church will be like, what's going on here? They'll have no idea. Like, why are there two quote unquote dark-skinned men in America doing all that stuff? You know, like what's going on here? And then all that stuff. Okay. That's like a majority of the world is not going to be excited by the Bible coming true. Just know that. And that's why this dragon is going to be wroth with a woman, has always been furious with a woman, because this earth hates truth. That's why I know certain things that I teach are true, just because of how angry it makes other people. And it is funny at this point. And so if you stupid people out there get angry when the Bible comes out, then I know that you're part of this dragon, you know, and enjoy it, you know, what the dragon has in store for you, which is not good. It's very, very obvious that that's the case. And the dragon was furious with the woman and went to make war with the remnant of her seed, which keep the commandments of God and have the testimony of Jesus Christ. And that's the group that's going to have to give up their life because they're not taken away. So the only other option is death. And it is for the commandments of God and the testimony of Jesus Christ. And that's the mixed multitude. They're given white robes as well, but they have to give up their life as a sign of faith and allegiance to Christ. So anybody who doesn't take God at his word now, God will give them a chance. He has to show them that he exists first in the sky. And then he's going to start bringing plagues to this earth and then see who gives him glory, you know, and credit for all of this. Okay. So me and the few people that come by here, we take God at his word right now, you know, and then we know that we're living in this because we see a dragon who's an idiot, like, and he is an idiot, having great wrath, trying to deceive people and all that kind of stuff. And it's worldwide. This entire earth is metaphorically a wilderness. And so we see that. And so how could this not be Bible prophecy? Hope everyone's doing well. Bye.